Chicago! Happy Memorial Day, one and all. Thank you, first of all, to everyone that has served and has sacrificed so much for those of us here. It is very much appreciated. Welcome on into Chi-Town Weekly. We have got a lot to go over tonight, with it being Memorial Day. That means in the MLB, we've now played enough games, roughly 50 to 55, depending on the team that you're associated with, to really get an idea of a sample size and really kind of start to figure these teams out. So let's take a look at some of the numbers that have to do with both the North Side Cubs and the South Side Sox, both of whom right now at least have a share of their respective division leads. Two first-place teams in town, but how similar are they? Where are their strengths? Where are their weaknesses? What direction are these two teams headed in? Let's dive into some of the numbers on both sides of town. And then, a very peculiar story broke last week regarding the Chicago Bears. Are the McCaskies looking to sell? Let's talk about that and what that might mean for the future of the team. All that and more right here on Chi-Town Weekly on IE Sports Radio. Everybody buckle up. Let's have some fun. And once again, welcome on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I am your host, Adam Karnick. Thank you so much for taking time out of your holiday or out of your holiday week, as the case may be, to sit back and talk some sports with me tonight. I'm not the first show on the air tonight on IE Sports. Taryn Rodriguez did an outstanding job on Set Point, talking all things volleyball, as he always does. So good job, Taryn, and I see him hanging out there in the chat. Good evening to you, sir. And of course, before we go any further, we have to acknowledge our sponsor for this week, the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organization. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get film, to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you have been waiting for as an athlete. You can follow them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, find them on Instagram at Southern California_Warriors, or by searching Facebook for Southern California Warriors. And then, of course, here on IE Sports Radio, we are available on all the major social platforms. Find us on Twitter at IE Sports Radio, Instagram at IE Sports Radio, Facebook, search for IE Sports Radio, or you can go to our website, www.iesportsradio.com. And ways you can interact with the show. If you like, you can follow along with the show's Twitter handle at IESRC, or you can follow along with my personal Twitter handle, that is at Adam_Karnick. If you are listening live here on the Spreaker app and you haven't done so already, please create an account for yourself. It's free. There's no charge or anything like that to do so. And then you can log on into the chat room and you can talk back and forth with me or Taryn or any of the other people that hop on in and banter back and forth. We can go back and forth that way. Or if you like, you could just sit back and listen and let me entertain you, whatever works best for you. All right, so We are going to be talking a lot of baseball tonight since it is Memorial Day. Everybody is roughly 50-plus games into the season, and we're about a third of the way through, give or take a couple of games. It's to the point where we're starting to get an adequate sample size for everybody to see just how good these teams are, what kind of trends are we seeing with the teams themselves, things like that. So we are going to do that on both sides of town. We are going to start this week on the north side. The Cubs played earlier today hosting the San Diego Padres, and they came away with a 7-2 win. So they're flying the W at Wrigley tonight. The big stars of the game, Javier Baez and Patrick Wisdom, both had multi-home run days. Both hit 2 home runs in the game. Chris Bryant also had a big game. He had another home run. He also hit a triple in the win. And Cole Stewart, who got put in as an emergency spot start since Trevor Williams had to go an appendectomy yesterday morning. Cole Stewart got the spot start for the Cubs, went 5 innings, gave up just 1 run. It was his first start in nearly 2 years. He had opted out of last year due to the pandemic, so his first start in nearly 2 years, went 5 innings, just gave up the 1 run. And it was a strong day for the Sox and a strong way to close out the month of May. The Cubs finished May going 19-8 in the month, improving all the way up to 30-23 as a team, and they now find themselves in a tie with the St. Louis Cardinals for first place in the National League Central. The Cardinals play later tonight out in Los Angeles, so the tie will get broken later tonight. The Cubs will either find themselves a half game back or a half game up, depending on how things actually close out tonight. So, Taryn, I know you're a bit of a Dodgers guy. Go ahead, and I hope you guys get the win tonight out there. Help the Cubs out a bit. Baez especially had a big day today. His first home run was a no-doubter, 455 feet to center field, scoring himself and Chris Bryant. He got absolutely all of it. His second one came in the 7th. It was a little shorter, just 397 feet in the alley there. So not quite as big of a blast. A little bit of a basket shot. Get some help there with it, but still a big day for Javier Baez. I was just reading some of the story quotes. He is definitely appreciating having fans in the building. If you remember, Baez was a guy last year who had commented that he felt he was affected by the fact that that there were no fans in the stands for the games, and he was feeling he couldn't feed off of that energy that he normally gets from the crowd. So having a crowd in there today, he even said today felt like a playoff game, which makes sense. The Padres came in at 34-20. They're one of the top 3 teams in the National League right now. So to have some success off of them to start off a 3-game series has to feel good. Patrick Wisdom, too, he had the 2 home runs. He also had a single, so he was 3 for 4 on the day. Wisdom has kind of gotten forced into play because the Cubs have been facing so many injuries, and he's producing. It's a very, 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 very small sample size right now, but he's got an average of 467 right now, so he is definitely paying dividends right now for the Cubs in some kind of emergency use. So what are the overall things to look at right now for the Cubs? Well, one of the biggest pluses for this team right now has got to be the bullpen as a whole. Entering into play today, now this is before today's game, and to put it in there, the Cubs bullpen did give up 1 earned run today over 4 innings worth of work, so this number will be just a little bit different. But coming into play today, the Cubs bullpen had the second best earned run average in the majors, behind only, ironically enough, the Padres bullpen. Cubs bullpen ERA is 2.74, and that's with the 8th most innings pitched. The bullpen so far has accounted for almost, and this was before getting the 4 innings today. So with the 4 innings today, 207 2/3 innings for the Cubs bullpen, 8th most innings pitched coming into play today. They've got the second most strikeouts at 254 coming into play today, and then the bullpen got 6 more. Keegan Thompson got 3 strikeouts in his 2 1/3 innings of work. Andrew Chafin got a strikeout. And then Tommy Nance, who came in and pitched the 9th, 2 of the 3 batters he faced struck out. So add 6 more strikeouts, up to 260 strikeouts as a bullpen, second most as a bullpen in the major leagues coming into play today. The bullpen has really, really turned things around since a bit of a rocky start to the season, and that has been a huge bonus for this team. It's allowed them to shorten games and take some pressure off of the offense, which has struggled at times throughout the season overall, to consistently get runs, consistently get base hits, just consistently produce, and having a bullpen that has been able to go out there and pitch 3, 4, 5 innings a game and lock teams down has been a huge boost overall. Craig Kimbrell in particular, he's got 12 saves in 14 chances this season, an ERA of .82, so less than, if he were to go all 9 innings, he would give up less than a run in that time. He's got a whip right now of below 9. That means if he pitches an inning, he's going to allow less than 1 base runner in that inning on average. And he's striking out 36 batters over those 22 innings pitched. Craig Kimbrell, suddenly, this is the Craig Kimbrell that the Cubs thought they were getting 2 years ago when they made the move midseason. If you remember, a couple years ago, it was almost the 4th of July by the time they actually signed Kimbrell. Kimbrell was holding out, waiting for the right deal. He didn't want to sign just a 1-year stopgap deal with somebody. He wanted he wanted to be able to put down roots and know that he had a home for a few years. And so it was very nearly the 4th of July before he finally signed on with the Cubs. And he struggled out of the gate. He did not look great. His first year, certainly. Last year had some ups and downs. This year, this is the Craig Kimbrell that Jed Hoyer, Theo Epstein at the time, and the Cubs front office thought they were signing when they were signing him on. He has been absolutely phenomenal, and it has been a huge boost to the team to shore up the back end of that bullpen. But on the flip side, the bullpen has been throwing so many innings because right now the biggest weakness on this team right now is its starting rotation. The Cubs starting 5 has a combined earned run average coming into play today of 4.49, basically 4.5 runs per game giving up, which is 20th among starting staffs in Major League Baseball. Opponents are hitting on average 263 against them, which is second worst in baseball in an era where batting average is kind of going the way of the dinosaur as players are swinging for the fences more and understanding that as pitchers come in with more and more heat and more gas, more and more power, that you've got to kind of fight fire with fire and just not necessarily swing for average, but swing for power. The Cubs are giving up a lot of base hits in today's game. That opponent batting average of 263 is second worst in baseball. They have the fewest strikeouts in baseball as a starting staff. And it's understandable. You look at the rotation they have put together for this season. You've got a bunch of soft tossers. You've got Kyle Hendricks, who in his best day, he's maybe touching 92 from time to time on the radar gun, but he's not throwing 95, 96 miles an hour. You've got Zach Davies, who he's not throwing gas, he's not throwing heat anymore at this stage of his career. Jake Arrieta, while he's throwing harder than those guys, he's very much a veteran pitcher that relies upon movement and outthinking the hitters rather than necessarily just blowing past them with his fastball, with his heater. About the one guy on the staff that has the ability to kind of throw the heat, throw the fast stuff is Adbert Alzolay, and he's having success overall. He's coming in. He's coming in with the best ERA of the starters. I'm getting it pulled back up here. Excuse me, just for a second. I had the number. He's got an earned run average of 3.81, which is easily the best ERA of the starters. He's the only guy that's sub 4. And I would say anymore this day and age in Major League Baseball, an ERA of 4 is kind of your average. So you've got the entire starting pitching staff for the Cubs is really struggling in that department, especially Jake Arrieta and Kyle Hendricks are really hurting there. And Trevor Williams has just been awful. Trevor Williams, an ERA of 5.36, just really, really hurting. Kyle Hendricks in particular, he's not at all looking like the ace of a staff this season. I see Mike Pat has joined us in the chat room, and he points out that the Cubs pitching stats are better than the Orioles. Well, Mike, the Orioles are actively just throwing a AAA team out there and trying to get the first overall pick. So yeah, the Orioles stats are a bit skewed in that direction. You're absolutely right. And then Taryn chimes in that the Angels are also struggling with pitching. Yeah, amazingly enough, Shohei Ohtani is doing really well, but the rest of the staff is struggling out there in Los Angeles. But Hendricks, he's just not looking like an ace right now. He's got an ERA of 4.63, and he is giving up over two. And these stats I'm getting from Fangraphs. He's giving up basically 2.25 home runs per 9 innings pitched. He's got a whip, which is, again, how many walks and hits you give up in an inning. He's got a whip of 1.42. Nearly 1.5 batters per inning are reaching base against him. And just about, he's got a home run per fly ball rate. So anytime a player hits the ball in the air, it is being a home run about a quarter of the time. Just under that, 23%. Basically, 1 out of every 4 fly balls is leaving the yard. And for a guy who is not going to blow anything past you, is so reliant upon location, he's getting burned out there on the diamond. It's not good. Now, it could turn around for Hendricks a little bit. He is getting unlucky a little bit. His batting average on balls in play is .316. That's a number that generally winds up at the end of the year being about 300. So he is getting a little unlucky in that hitters are just hitting the ball where the defense isn't some of the time. So you might see some of those numbers just naturally trickle down a little bit, but it's not good. And even if they do trickle down for Hendricks, and Hendricks isn't the only one that's got a really high BABIP, batting average on balls in play. Trevor Williams, his BABIP is .356. He is just absolutely, if it's getting hit, it's finding a hole. It's getting away from defenders far too often. But even if those numbers come down, you're still looking. Adbert Alzolay's BABIP right now is .223, so I would imagine that number is going to go up. And Jake Arrieta's is .278. So I think the Cubs are going to have to do something here soon to help that starting rotation if they decide to be competitive this year. Along those lines, the MVP of this team right now is, hands down, it's Chris Bryant. Right now, he's got an on-base plus slugging percentage of .990, 12 home runs after today. With 2 more extra base hits today, he's up to 28 extra base hits, plus 23 walks, and he's doing all this while playing third base, first base, and all 3 of the outfield spots while the Cubs are dealing with injuries basically everywhere. You think of Chris Bryant as being the starting third baseman. I honestly couldn't tell you the last time he's actually played third base. I think it was in April was the last time he actually played third base. He's been bouncing around everywhere for the team while still putting up tremendous numbers. A .990 OPS, for those that don't understand, OPS, it's your on-base plus slugging. It's a little better way of telling how well a batter is doing at the plate as opposed to just looking at their batting average. The league average right now is right around 730, 740. So to have an OPS of .990 is absurd. Another number that just kind of illustrates it here, Fangraphs has a number that they call weighted runs created plus. Bare numbers, what this boils down to is it's a way just to show how productive a player is being on offense. They look at how a player is doing compared to how other players are doing, and they take the ballparks into play, and they make the playing field even. A score of 100 and a weighted runs created plus, a score of 100 is exactly average. Anything above 100 is above average. Anything below 100 is obviously then below average. Chris Bryant has a weighted runs created plus of 170. He is just being an absurdly good offensive player, and he's doing that while playing half the positions available to him on the diamond. So Chris Bryant, absolutely hands down to this point, is the team's MVP. Overall, Fangraphs gives the Cubs right now about a 1-in-3 shot of making the playoffs. So obviously some work to be done there yet. They've got to decide whether or not they're going to be buyers or sellers, obviously, and I expect that to happen maybe a little sooner as opposed to later with the Cubs. And this next week and a half should be very key and critical in that decision. The Cubs' next 10 games, including today's game against the Padres, are against the Padres and the Giants, who are the best 2 teams in the National League, not named the Dodgers. So they have definitely got some tough tests coming up ahead of them. So it'll be very interesting to see how they do come this time, I would say next weekend. Let's see how many more wins they've got. They're right now 7 games over 500. Are they still 7 games over, or are they a little bit closer to 500? And I think that might kind of be the final piece for Jed Hoyer to decide should this team look to buy or sell. All right, we are going to take we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, let's look at the White Sox playing on the south side of town. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, hear me and hear me good. If you like sports, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. If you like comedy, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. If you like a different opinion coming from a different angle, then you like the Wait a Minute Show. So join me Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with your host, Jelani J.B. Bodie. And of course, my man Lopan on the WaitAMinuteShow.com. Ain't that right, Lopan?
Hey guys, it's Blake Henley, better known as H-Town Blake to some of you. Happy to announce that Bases Loaded is back in full force. We'll be bringing that high heat every Tuesday night here on IE Sports Radio. So come home, get ready, dig into that batter's box, and see if you can chase that high heat, baby. So we'll be coming to you live with all the stats, all the rundowns, all the division rivalries, and every team that's going to make the playoff push to get to that one and only October and get to the pinnacle of what baseball is, to hoist that Commissioner's Trophy when it's all said and done.
Hey USRN fans, do you have a product or company you're trying to promote? Look no further. USRN is teaming up with small local businesses trying to establish themselves via online promotion. Let us know if you're interested. Email us at usrnradio@gmail.com to learn more.
Everybody, this is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Lentarius Locke.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. So we took a deep dive look at the Cubs there in the first segment. Let's do the same thing here on Memorial Day with the White Sox. Now, the White Sox are in the middle of a doubleheader day today in Cleveland. They finished up, they actually went into extra innings in their first game. They won 8-6 in Cleveland earlier today. It was an 8-inning game. Again, doubleheaders this year are only 7 innings, so an 8-inning game can, in fact, be extra innings. Without getting off on too much of a tangent, I like the 7-inning doubleheader. It's a little bit more fun, and I know the players like it. I also know that there are a bunch of crotchety old baseball fans that are going harumph over it, so to that I say, get over it. But anyway, the Sox, it was a rough stuff. Carlos Rodon started. The first pitch he threw went over the wall and left. The next batter he faced also hit a home run. So a rough start for Rodon, but he settled down, wound up going 6 innings in the game. No decision for Rodon. The Sox they answered back in the second inning with 4 runs of their own. The Indians had a rough day fielding. They finished with 3 errors, and the Sox were able to score they were able to score 3 runs on an error in the second inning, and then the 4th run also, was helped by that. So some poor plays. Finally, in extra innings, the Sox got a sacrifice fly from Jose Abreu to score Billy Hamilton, and then Adam Eaton, who is back in the lineup today after missing quite a bit of time with a hamstring injury. He hit his 5th home run of the season, scoring himself and Yermin Mercedes to go ahead. At the time, it was 8-5. They held on to get the win, 8-6. Aaron Bummer with the pitched the 8th inning for the save. So Rodon went 6 innings, gave up 5 earned runs on 9 hits, 1 walk, did strike out 8. He saw his ERA balloon up to 1.98, which is still outstanding. And that's where I want to start with this team. Right now, as we sit here on Memorial Day, the biggest strength for the White Sox is their starting pitching. It is just outstanding. Coming into play today, they had the second best ERA for a starting rotation in the majors at 2.85. Their starters are going deep. 287 innings coming into play today, then add Carlos Rodon 6 innings today, so 293 innings so far from the starters through 53 games. That's 5th most in Major League Baseball. When you're seeing more and more teams are being content to just get the starter through, they're very happy to pull the starter after even as few as 4 innings. They are definitely, the White Sox are getting good use out of their starting rotation. Their starters are averaging getting into the 6th inning, averaging getting 5 1/3 innings per outing, so a little bit deeper of a usage with their staff. And it's obviously working. What's also working is they have definitely adapted to the modern MLB in the sense that the best and safest way to get a batter out is to strike him out. They are second in the majors, again, coming into play today, 322 strikeouts from the starting pitching staff. Then you add on Rodon's 8 today, 330 strikeouts already for the starting staff of the White Sox. So excellent work from the starting staff. Opponents are hitting just .201 against their starters right now. One stat that is a little concerning for me, again, that batting average on balls in play, again, that's by the end of the year, that's going to wind up more often than not being around 300 for everybody on average. For pretty much all of the White Sox starters right now, they're all under that. Some of them are severely under that. Carlos Rodon coming into play today, his BABIP is 211. Other guys, Lance Lynn is at 222. Lucas Giolito, a BABIP of 253. So a lot of guys are, when they're giving up contact, it is finding fielders' gloves one way or another, and it's still producing an out. I might expect those numbers to go up a little bit, so it might mean that it'll be a little harder to maintain some of these numbers for the pitchers, but certainly for right now, things are looking great for the starting pitching staff, and they have needed that because the White Sox have been decimated by injuries. Depth right now is definitely the biggest weakness right now for the team. You had the top 4 outfielders for this team coming into the season: Eloy Jimenez, Luis Robert, and then Adam Engel and Adam Eaton have all missed significant time. Now, Adam Eaton, obviously, he came back today and had an instant impact playing at right field. Obviously, he had the ultimately the winning home run. He also hit a double his first time up in the second. So some instant dividends there for the White Sox getting him back. But as a result, they have had to play guys like Billy Hamilton and Jake Lamb a lot more than they would like, and these are guys that are having a hard time producing. And again, some of these advanced stats, again, I'm using fan graphs for these numbers. So I highly encourage you, if you're not familiar with these numbers, go to Fangraphs. They have a glossary. They can talk you through it about why they use them and what the numbers mean. There's math involved kind of heavily, but it's some of the higher thinking and higher understanding of the game right now to kind of see what teams are looking at, as opposed to the just looking at batting average or RBIs, kind of a thing like that. Jake Lamb, for example, right now, he's got a weighted on base percentage 371, which is good. That's where you want it to be. His batting average is 231. He is benefiting greatly from the fact that he is walking a ton. He's got an on base percentage of 362. On a slugging of 487, so he's making it work for him right now, but I don't expect that to continue for long. And then Billy Hamilton, Billy Hamilton, he's hitting just his slash line right now, batting average 211, on base percentage of 233, and a slugging of 404. That's an OPS of under 700, 637. That is rough. That is rough. His weighted runs created plus. Remember, that was the number that we said the baseline. An average player has a weighted runs created plus of 100. Billy Hamilton is 73. He is severely underperforming out there from an offensive standpoint. But to be fair, Billy Hamilton's not on the team to be an offensive player. He's on the field. He's on the team, ideally, to be a late inning base runner, to be somebody that you get in there when Jose Abreu hits a single, and you've got to get the guy home to score either an insurance run or a game-winning run. So you put Billy Hamilton out there. He's not out there. He's not with the team ideally to play the field and bat multiple times, but due to injuries, that's where the White Sox find themselves. So they're in a unique situation there. Another interesting guy to look at from a numbers perspective, Yasmani Grandal, the catcher. He's got an on-base plus slugging right now of 737. All right, pretty close to average. His batting average, though, is just 135. He is not hitting the ball at all. But he's still being able to be an average producer because he's walking a ton. He's not necessarily hitting for power either. He's only got a slugging of 344, but he's got an on-base of nearly 400 of 393. So even though he's not making good contact with the bat, he's not making a lot of contact with the bat, and when he is, it's not good contact. He's still figuring out a way to be effective as a hitter. Something's got to eventually give there. Either he's going to start hitting the ball, or pitchers are going to figure out, hey, just attack the guy. Just pump in fastballs. Don't worry about being careful with him. Just attack him and let him get himself out with his bat. Right now, as we hit Memorial Day, I know he didn't have the best of starts today, but for the White Sox, my White Sox MVP right now is Carlos Rodon. He bet on himself this offseason, signing just a one-year deal to come back to the Sox, and he is making the most of it. His ERA coming into play today was 1.29. Now, obviously then, a little bit of a rough start for him today that ballooned up to 1.98. Still, an ERA of below 2 is amazingly good. Even this still relatively early on in the year. He's averaging over 13 strikeouts per 9 innings pitched, and he's only walking just over 2 batters for every 9 innings pitched. Carlos Rodon is just phenomenal right now on a staff that's boasting guys like Lance Lynn and Dallas Keuchel and Michael Kopech, who is coming in spot starts, though he just got put on the injured list for 10 days. He injured himself in his last pitching appearance. Carlos and Lucas Giolito. Giolito is still obviously the ace of this staff, but Rodon has been the guy who has really stepped up in a huge way and is having success and is going to get himself a payday hopefully this coming off season. So Rodon is easily my early season MVP for the White Sox. Honorable mention though has to go to Yermin Mercedes, the rookie coming in, the old elderly rookie. We've talked about him before. 28-year-old rookie hitting .320, an on-base plus slugging of .863, already 15 extra base hits before today, including 7 home runs. Mercedes is he's a fun story. Keep that going, young man. I hope things continue to go well for you. Right now, the White Sox, and this again was before playing today, Fangraphs gives the Sox an 85.5% chance at making the playoffs and an 81.6% chance of winning the division. That is best among division leaders by Fangraphs. The Fangraphs is saying the White Sox, of all the division leaders right now, the White Sox are the ones that are most likely to actually wind up winning their division when it's all said and done. They also give the Sox right now a 9% chance at winning the World Series. And that's still, obviously, without Eloy Jimenez doing anything, and that's with Luis Robert not contributing for, realistically, the rest of the regular season. So really, really, really strong things from this team. Obviously, losing some offense, they're going to need to rely more heavily on their pitching staff now that they don't have quite the pop in the bats that they thought they'd getting, though hopefully Adam Eaton coming back will give them some of that. I do think as we get a little closer into the defining the team, I do think they're going to need to look at acquiring some fresh bullpen arms from somewhere. Liam Hendriks hasn't quite been as advertised as a closer. He's been good, but not quite as great as you hoped. And their setup guys unfortunately haven't quite been what you thought they might be. So I think that's where the Sox are ultimately they're going to need to look to make some moves, maybe to get 7th and 8th inning guys that they can go to reliably and just know that they can get from the starter to Liam Hendriks. And finally, one last weakness that they're going to have to overcome, and I've harped on this before, but manager Tony La Russa, he's done all right, but he's going to have to really figure out how to consistently day in and day out, manage in the modern MLB and learn how to get this team the wins it needs. And Mike's chiming in the chat more about his Orioles, that they are now up to 14 losses in a row. Congratulations, Baltimore Orioles. The first overall pick is coming your way. Yeah, beat that. Yep. I want no part of that. Thank you. You go right ahead and lose for 2 solid weeks there, Baltimore. All right, we are going to take one last quick break, and then when we come back, are the Chicago Bears really up for sale? Maybe we all need to start saving up our money. Maybe if you've been into cryptocurrency, maybe this is the way to cash it in. We'll talk about the Bears and the strange goings-on up in Lake Forest next. This is Chi-Town Weekly on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey, what's up, sports fans? You're looking for a different type of sports talk show, something you haven't heard before? You gotta check out the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday on 2 Live Stews Radio, 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Sports talk at its finest. Always have great guests, playing some good hip-hop. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to tune in to the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Attention, all sports fans! If you're someone who wakes up each morning with a list of sporting events to go along with your to-do list for the day, then you just might be a diehard. The world of sports is as vast as the ocean is deep, including the major leagues, the minor leagues, the college, and everything in between. This is me, your boy Larry B of IE Sports Radio, welcoming you to join me every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on The Defining Moment, a show that focuses on what really matters in the sports world, sports themselves, and nothing outside of them. Once again, tune in for The Defining Moment with me, your boy Larry B, every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on IE Sports Radio, right here on Spreaker.com. We'll see you there.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS. The SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Big story that broke last weekend. I'm sure we've all done it. We've all dreamed of owning our own sports team someday, but realized that, the odds of it are fantastical to say the least. And that you'd probably have to relocate and move and all the hassle that comes with it. Well, maybe not, because according to Jim O'Donnell of the Daily Herald last week, apparently there is some strife in the McCaskey family that has a controlling interest of the Chicago Bears. The McCaskey family, of course, Virginia McCaskey, the daughter of Chicago Bears and NFL founder George Halas, that apparently they might be looking to sell. It's a shock because Virginia, who is 98 years old, has always maintained she does not want to sell the team for any reason at all. But the moving pieces keep getting bigger and bigger and more complicated because Virginia's not the only McCaskey. She and her late husband had 11 children, and then the 11 children have produced over 40 grandchildren, each of whom has a stake in the team. And at this point, the thinking being that about the only way that everybody's going to be able to get their stake, the simplest way may be simply to sell the team. And then O'Donnell even brought up some different names, and some others have wound up reporting on that as well, of some different names that might be interested and could be possibilities for buying the team. I'll start with the name that probably is least familiar to everybody. It would be Neil Bloom. Neil Bloom is a casino guy. That's how he's made his money. He's reportedly worth just under $7 billion, and this is according to SB Nation. I'm reading off of here. Bloom is reportedly worth just south of $7 billion, $6.8 billion. He's a minority owner in both the Bulls and the White Sox, so he's already got some idea of what it takes to be an owner of a team in Chicago. And he has ties to Churchill Downs. Now, the interesting part there is Churchill Downs is who owns the Arlington Heights racetrack, which went up for sale a few weeks ago. And as soon as that was announced, instantly it was, are the Bears going to move out there? Are the Bears going to be moving out there? Are the Bears going to move? There has been talk for the last 40 years of the Bears moving to Arlington Heights. For those that don't know, the Bears, they play right now at Soldier Field. Soldier Field has a lot of problems as an NFL stadium and as a home for not only for the NFL, but also for the Bears. And I see Mike commenting that Hallis paid $100 for the team back in the day. He would like to offer the same price. Mike, I will happily go in with you on that deal. I suspect it's going to take a little bit more than that to get a seat at the table at this point. The team has been valued at $3.5 billion at this point. So suffice to say that $100 investment paid off. But Soldier Field as a home site is a rough one. It's small, it's hard to get to, and the Bears don't own it. So that's a problem as well, as the Bears simply don't own the site. The Chicago Park District does. So moving out to Arlington Heights could be very interesting. Another name that's popped up that's a little bit more familiar to everybody is that of Pat Ryan. Pat Ryan is a self-made billionaire. He founded Aon. He's since retired from being that company's CEO. He's worth a little over $2.5 billion, and he is actually, along with business partner Andy McKenna, is a minority share owner of the Bears. They own about just under 20% of the team, and Ryan has a right of first refusal if any of the McCaskies choose to sell any of their stock in the team. They have to offer it to Pat Ryan first. So he's a name that could be there. He is also heavily invested in Northwestern University. Ryan Field and the new field house that they just built there on campus also bears part of his name on there. So he would be a potential one. And then the name that is most interesting but also probably least likely to happen, Jeff Bezos of Amazon, the richest man in the world. Of course, his name has popped up. That would be more of the NFL wanting to get Bezos than Bezos wanting to get into the NFL. However, a man who's worth just south of $1 trillion, certainly he could afford to buy the team. So some interesting things going on there with the Bears. Certainly something to keep an eye on. And see, my Lord have mercy, please no to Jeff Bezos. I don't know, that could be interesting. Certainly he'd have the money to spare to make things look interesting at the park. Regardless of if it's there in Soldier Field or if they're out in Arlington Heights or someplace else. One other note on the Bears moving out to Arlington Heights. Their current lease with Soldier Field does extend out to well beyond where they're at right now. I believe it's not needed to be up until 2033. So obviously it's going to take some cash to get out of that lease at this point. All right, that does it for our show tonight. Big thank you to our sponsor, the Southern California Warriors, for once again sponsoring us this week. Be sure to check them out on all of their social sites. Check out minor league sports in general, semi-professional sports it's just a totally different avenue. It's a totally different thing. Thank you to Mike and to Taryn for hanging out in the chat room. Really nice to interact with those guys back and forth. Thank you to Larry for all the hard work he puts in making IE Sports possible and just getting to do this week in, week out. Finally, thank you, the listeners, for continuing to be here, either listening live or listening to the chat or listening as a podcast later on during the week and then offering feedback. It is very much appreciated. It's special to me. Thank you. Happy Memorial Day again to everyone that has served and has made the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you, and thank you to those families. It is not forgotten. Everybody be safe, be good. We will talk again next week. Until then, this is Adam Karnick. We'll see you next time.